She watched him shatter, then choose to rise, and her heart never recovered. He survived the crash. She couldn't survive him. Commander Reed Morrow groaned as he pulled himself from the wreckage, his ship a burning hulk in the middle of a thick alien jungle. The sky of Valtheris IV pulsed with strange red clouds, and the air smelled like wet iron and crushed flowers. His ribs were broken, maybe 2, maybe 3. His left leg felt wrong. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead, blurring one eye. Still he stood. Humans were built to survive. Pain was just noise. Movement flickered between the massive blue-leaf trees. He turned, pistol shaking in his bruised hand. Instead of a beast or enemy, she stepped into view. Tall, elegant, alien. She had 4 graceful arms, silver blue skin that shimmered like moonlight on water, and eyes so deep and violet they made the jungle fade behind her. She wore a thin, glowing suit with straps and pouches, and held a scanning device that blinked rapidly when pointed at him. "You're still alive?" she asked, her voice smooth, curious, disbelieving. Reed gave her a lopsided grin through bloodied lips. "Human thing. We break well." He reached down, grabbed his side, and with a sharp grunt, snapped his rib back into place. The sound cracked through the air. The alien woman staggered. Her knees buckled. She caught herself against a tree, staring at him with wide eyes. "You just did that?" "Yeah." Reed spat red into the grass. "Had worse on Mars? You okay, princess?" "I'm not a princess," she snapped, but her voice trembled. "I'm Valera of the Threllan Scientific Corps, botanist, bioresearcher, and you, Commander Reed Morrow, Human Defense Corps, currently in need of a splint and a drink." She blinked. "You should be unconscious. Internal bleeding, fractured ribs, impact trauma." He laughed, winced, and wiped blood from his cheek. Yeah, we heal fast. It's a thing. Guess your scans didn't warn you about how stubborn we are." Valera stared at him like she was seeing a new species, which technically she was. She stepped closer, scanning again, arms moving with practiced grace. One hand brushed his chest, right over a spreading bruise, and she paused. Her eyes narrowed. "Your heart rate is elevated but stable. Regeneration already started. That's biologically impossible." "It's biologically human," Reed said, eyes locked on hers. "You learn fast." She hesitated, then nodded. "My lab is not far. You need treatment. You sure you're not going to faint again if I set another bone?" "I didn't faint," she said stiffly. "I was surprised. Surprised is a hell of a look on you," he said, limping forward. "Lead the way, Doc." She huffed, but her cheeks flushed a soft violet glow. "You're insufferable. You should see me when I'm not dying." As they walked through the glowing jungle, Valera found herself glancing at him. His movements were stiff but strong. His body, bruised and bloodied, still radiated a strange confidence. Not arrogance, but something deeper, something unbreakable. She'd studied hundreds of species, broken down genetic chains in labs across 6 systems, but nothing prepared her for the man who snapped his own rib into place without flinching, and then flirted with her like it was breakfast on Earth. They reached her lab, camouflaged into the jungle, covered in living plants that moved when she touched a control on her wrist. The door opened with a soft sigh and she guided him to a medpod, carefully easing him down. He watched her the whole time, eyes sharp. "You always this gentle with strangers?" "I'm not gentle," she said, scanning his chest again. "I'm precise." He chuckled. "That's a good word for you." Valera found her fingers lingering on his skin. It was hot to the touch. Human bodies ran warmer and dense with muscle. She told herself it was for science. "You should have died," she said softly. "A lot of people say that. I just never listen." Her hand paused over his chest. Their eyes met. In that moment, something shifted. Not just curiosity, not just biology. Connection. She felt her pulse skip. Strange heat flushed through her core. She was a scientist, not a fool, but she knew something rare when she saw it. And the human on her table wasn't just a survivor. He was dangerous, fascinating, alive in a way no Threllan had ever been. He reached up, touched her hand gently. "You feel it too?" She nodded, barely breathing. "I've got a busted leg and probably a cracked skull," he said, voice low. "But I'd crawl through fire for a kiss from you." Valera's cheeks glowed brighter. "You really are impossible. And you really want to kiss me." She didn't deny it. Instead, she leaned in, and the jungle lab grew very quiet, except for the human and the alien, learning what it meant to survive together. Valera had never kissed anything before, let alone a human. She was a botanist, not a romantic. Her life was research and data, not lips. And yet, when her mouth brushed against Reed's, warm, cracked, and impossibly soft, her whole body reacted like she'd touched raw energy. She felt it in all four hands, in her lungs, in her knees. Something in him. His heat, his scent, his raw, battered presence was addictive, like a forbidden chemical she was never supposed to taste but couldn't stop sampling now that she had. When they pulled apart, barely a breath between them, she stared at him in wonder. "That's not possible," she whispered, dazed. Reed leaned his head back against the med pod, grinning like the bastard he was. "Yeah, we're full of surprises. I touched your lips for 2 seconds, and my neurochemistry just lit up like a binary nova. I feel your heartbeat in my hands." She looked down, confused, like her own body betrayed her. "This is not normal." "I get that a lot." Valera shook herself, took 2 stumbling steps back and crossed 2 of her forearms across her chest, while the other 2 began pacing nervously. "You triggered a whole-body sympathetic neural cascade. That's not supposed to happen unless 2 bonded Threllans." She stopped. Her eyes widened. Reed arched a brow. "Go on. You were saying?" "There's something in your biology. It mimics the bonding response, amplifies it. No, not mimics, hijacks it. Our systems are syncing. Not fully. Just enough to trigger the first stage." He blinked. "First stage of what?" "Of mating." Reed blinked back. "You kissed me and now we're halfway to Babytown?" Valera flushed bright violet and snapped. "Threllan reproduction is far more complex than primitive mammalian mechanics." "Then explain it slow," he said with a smirk. "For us, primitive mammals." She exhaled, flustered. "Our species bond through biochemical resonance. It starts with touch, then escalates. Emotional alignment accelerates the process. Physical intimacy completes it." His grin widened. "So basically, if I keep being charming and you keep touching me, we're gonna need a crib in a few weeks?" She looked mortified and intrigued. "No one has ever triggered a partial bond outside my species. No one." Reed sat up straighter, despite the pain in his ribs. "What if I told you this isn't my first alien kiss?" Her eyes narrowed. "You're joking." "I'm mostly joking, but I've been stationed on 12 different planets. I've seen species that mate by fusing minds and others that lay eggs in nutrient pools. What we just did?" He tapped his chest. "That was real. You felt it." Valera didn't answer. Her eyes were on his exposed torso, watching his bruises fade faster than her scanner could keep up. "I'm still recovering from a crash," he said, voice dropping. "And you're making it really hard to think straight." She stepped closer, hesitant but unable to stay away. "I need to run more tests," she said, but her fingers were already reaching for him. He caught her hand gently. "You want to study me?" "Yes," she breathed. "For science." "For science," he repeated, pulling her a little closer. "How deep does this bond thing go?" Valera's voice dropped to a whisper. "If we complete it, the link becomes permanent. Emotional, neurological, physical. My systems would adapt to yours, and yours might evolve faster in response." He raised a brow. You're saying I could get stronger from making love to you? In theory? She murmured, eyes flicking to his lips. Yes. Then I have a very generous theory, he said, tilting his head. But before their lips could meet again, alarms blared through the jungle. Valera tensed. Motion sensors. Multiple incoming. Reed was already off the medpod, pain forgotten. Enemies? She raced to her console, her body still humming with leftover heat. 3 Varnock scouts, the bastards must have picked up your crash signature. Damn it. He checked the pistol strapped to his thigh. I can fight, but I'm down. 1 lung and most of a leg. You're not alone, Valera said, arming a strange-looking rifle from a nearby wall. I've been preparing for this moment. Reed glanced at her. Flushed, brilliant, forearmed and pissed off, and felt something tighten in his chest that had nothing to do with his ribs. You coming with me, Doc? Valera turned, her long fingers adjusting her armor. I kissed you once and it changed my body, she said. I'm not letting anyone take you away before I get the rest of the data. He smiled. That's the sexiest thing anyone's ever said to me. They moved to the door side by side, their bond half formed but burning like a star between them. Whatever waited outside didn't know it yet, but they'd just started. Something no alien warband was ready to face. A human in love. And an alien woman who couldn't get enough of him. The jungle was alive with light and danger. Valera's long legs moved swiftly through the glowing underbrush, her metallic rifle humming with quiet power. Beside her, Reed limped slightly, keeping pace despite his wounds, one arm around her, waist for balance, the other gripping his plasma pistol. You always carry weapons like that in a botany lab? He asked, ducking under a low branch. My last lab didn't survive first contact with a swarm of acid-spitting drone beetles, she said flatly. I learned. Smart. Hot. He grinned. Deadly. You're really checking all the boxes, Doc. I could do without the compliments during a firefight. That's when they matter most. They stopped at the edge of a mossy ravine, the trees ahead shivering with movement. Valera tapped her visor, scanning the heat signatures ahead. 3 Varnock scouts, 8 feet tall, all muscle and slime. Half exosuit, half attitude problem. They're fanning out, she said, looking for your wreck. Let them find it, Reed replied. By the time they realize the pilot isn't inside, we'll be behind them. She glanced at him, surprised. You're a strategist? He smirked. I'm a man who hates being hunted. Valera turned to him. 2 of her 4 hands adjusting the rifle's energy pack, while the other 2 tightened the strap across her chest. The motion pulled the tight weave of her bodysuit closer to her frame. Reed noticed. Immediately, he cleared his throat. Just so you know, we survived this. I'm asking you on a proper date. Real food, something other than emergency rations, and adrenaline. She raised a silver eyebrow. That's assuming your species doesn't bond emotionally after one kiss, do we? She paused, then said softly, I don't know yet. They shared a look, half war, half warmth, then dropped into the ravine. The underbrush muffled their movement, and within seconds, they flanked the nearest Varnock. Valera raised her weapon, aimed, but the scout turned too fast, growling something in its harsh, clicking language. It aimed its weapon. Reed didn't think. He lunged forward, his pistol flashing once, twice. The alien dropped like a stone, sizzling from the shots. You jumped in front of a Varnock, Valera hissed, dragging him down as more movement crackled above them. That's not bravery, that's stupidity. I told you, he winced. I'm very loyal on the first date. She glared, then pressed her lips to his temple for a second, just a brush. I'm starting to believe you, she whispered. The other 2 scouts were closing in, their scent sharp and sour. Valera activated a signal beacon on her belt and dropped it into the ravine. Flashbait, let's move. They darted through the trees, breath ragged, hearts pounding. When the beacon exploded in a burst of blinding light and sound, the Varnock howled behind them, distracted long enough for the lovers to vanish into the mist. Minutes later, they collapsed behind the roots of an ancient glowing tree, limbs tangled, chests heaving. Reed laughed. That was intense. You're bleeding again. I'll get over it. Valera's fingers moved over his chest, gently checking the wound. Her hands were cool, steady. Her touch made him forget the pain. Or maybe it wasn't forgetting, maybe it was something else. She looked at him. Your body's already regenerating fast. How fast? She tapped her scanner. Too fast. This isn't just healing, this is adaptation. I'm adapting to you? No, she said, biting her lower lip. We're adapting to each other. I'm feeling it too. Reed reached up and stroked a strand of her silver-white hair back from her face. So what happens next? In Threllan culture, she hesitated, cheeks glowing. If this continues, we'd initiate the full bond. Physically, emotionally. It's permanent. He leaned closer. And you're scared? She nodded once. Yes, but not of you. Of how much I want this. Reed didn't speak. He kissed her again. This time deeper, slower. Her lips parted with a soft sound and their bodies pressed close under the glow of the ancient tree. Their heat met and mingled. Her forearms wrapped around him, holding him like he was already hers. I'm not afraid, he whispered between kisses. Not of you. Not of this. I've never bonded before, she said breathlessly. I've never fallen this fast before, he said. Guess we're both in uncharted territory. They laid together in the shelter of the tree, fingers tangled, breath shared. Around them, the jungle pulsed with quiet light as if watching, approving. Something had started between them. Something raw, powerful, and unstoppable. And as the stars twinkled above Valthera's fur, Valera whispered into the crook of his neck. This wasn't supposed to happen, but now that it has, I never want it to stop. By the time the moons rose above Valtheristhr, the jungle had fallen into a soft, glowing quiet. But under the roots of that ancient tree, something very human and very alien was just beginning. Valera hadn't moved. Not since Reed's arm had wrapped around her waist, not since their lips had met again with slower, deeper hunger. Her skin felt like it was humming, literally. The bioluminescent patterns on her shoulders and back had changed color. They were usually a soft blue. Now they pulsed a warm, inviting violet. Reed noticed. That mean what I think it means? She gave a breathless little laugh. You're affecting my whole system. I've studied dozens of bonding species. None this fast, none this intense. He traced the markings along her collarbone, watching them brighten beneath his fingers. So what's next? Do we exchange DNA samples or fill out a form? Reed, she whispered, her voice unsteady. If we continue, it won't be a temporary connection. Threllan bonding is biological. Once formed, it deepens with every intimate act. I'm not looking for temporary. That silenced her, not because she doubted his sincerity, but because something inside her, something deep and genetic and wild, had already decided. This human was hers. She touched the side of his face. Then understand this. If we bond fully, our systems will sync. Your biology will begin to evolve faster. Mine will shift to match. My people call it the fusion spiral. Once it starts, we can't go back. Reed kissed her palm. So let's spiral. Her laugh turned into a shiver when his hand slid beneath the edge of her suit, fingertips brushing bare skin. Her forearms responded on instinct, two pulling him closer, two trembling against his chest. You humans, you burn so hot, she whispered. And your anatomy. Bigger than you expected? He grinned. Her blush deepened into a vivid violet glow. It's not just size. It's presence, heat, pressure. It's like your entire body is built for passion and chaos. Evolution, he murmured against her neck. We adapt to conquer, even in bed. She groaned. This is not a proper scientific conversation. Feels like one to me. Their bodies pressed together beneath the tree's glowing canopy. Her suit softened and shifted, reacting to her desire, becoming more pliable where his hands explored. His bruises, his pain, all of it melted away as her touch spread across him. She wasn't just a botanist now. She was his catalyst, and he was hers. As their lips found each other again, the bond between them deepened. It wasn't just lust. It wasn't just chemistry. It was fusion. Her body adapted to his heat. His heart adapted to her rhythm. When they finally collapsed back against the roots, sweating, breathless and glowing, they weren't the same. Reed's skin shimmered faintly, not unlike hers. Patterns, similar to Valera's but rougher, more angular, glowed faintly across his shoulders and forearms. He stared at them, stunned. Is this normal? Valera scanned him. With shaking hands, her voice cracked. No, it's extraordinary. She looked up at him, eyes wide. You're copying my BioLite signatures, integrating them. That shouldn't be possible. You're still human, but your cells are responding like Threlin cells. He stared at his hands. So I'm becoming like you? No, you're becoming more than you were. She touched his chest. His heartbeat echoed beneath her palm, strong and fast. Her voice dropped, reverent. Your body didn't just accept the bond, it expanded it. You're not just adapting, you're upgrading. Reed tilted his head. So let me get this straight. I crash on an alien moon, get shot at, make out with a sexy scientist, and now I'm evolving? Valera nodded slowly. Humans weren't supposed to be this adaptable. He smiled. We're always full of surprises. Their quiet moment was broken by a sharp ping from her scanner. She checked it, and her breath caught. Reed, something's approaching. His hand went to his pistol. More Varnock? She shook her head. No, bigger, stronger. I don't know what it is, but it's not natural. It's heading straight for us. Reed rose to his feet, the soft glow of his new patterns pulsing in rhythm with his breath. He looked down at her, his alien scientist, his bonded partner, his accidental lover, and something fierce sparked in his eyes. Then we fight. Valera stood beside him, her weapon charged, her heart steady. No, she said, reaching for his hand. We evolve. And with the stars watching above, the jungle trembling ahead, and their bond burning bright between them, they faced the unknown together. The jungle didn't rustle. It shuddered. Leaves rippled like they were trying to pull away. The air grew heavier, metallic. Whatever was coming wasn't alive in any natural way. It felt engineered. Reed and Valera stood shoulder to shoulder, the glow of their bond illuminating the undergrowth. His bio-adapted skin now carried faint, pulsing lines. Hers had begun to shift too, her markings realigning, reshaping around the places his hands had lingered. The bond wasn't just physical anymore. It was rewriting them both. Can you feel it? Valera whispered. He nodded. Like thunder, but inside my bones. She tapped her visor. No name, no ID signal. It's cloaked in some kind of null field, organic dampening tech. Reed flexed his fingers. They didn't just feel stronger, they were stronger, denser, faster. And something more was growing inside him, something old and hungry. How far? He asked. Valera glanced at her scanner, voice tight. 50 meters, massive readings, bipedal, but laced with Threlin biosignatures. Reed looked at her. Threlin? Your people built that thing? No, she said, eyes wide. They built it using our DNA. My stolen research, the data you crashed with, this is the result. They spliced Threlin biology with something else, something wrong. Then we destroy it, Reed said simply. The creature stepped into view. It was twice Reed's height, sleek and silver with armor that pulsed like muscle. Glowing veins ran down its arms that ended in claws too long and sharp to be natural. Its head was a smooth, helmeted dome with no face, no eyes. Just a mouth like a vertical wound, always slightly open. Breathing, watching. Valera's blood went cold. It's reading me. It's locked onto the bond. It wants what we have, Reed realized. No. She gritted her teeth. It wants to replace us. The creature moved, fast, too fast. Reed tackled Valera out of the way as a blur of silver claws slashed through the air where they'd just been. He rolled, came up firing, but the creature absorbed the plasma blast like rainwater. It didn't even flinch. Not fair, he growled. I just finished healing. Valera ducked behind a root system, calibrating her rifle. It's adapting to your energy patterns, probably scanning your genetic enhancements. Well, if it's copying me, Reed said, charging forward. Let's give it a fight it can't survive. He dove low, planted a punch right into its midsection, and felt his knuckles shatter. It was like hitting a wall made of vibrating stone. The creature didn't stagger. It twisted, backhanding him into a tree. Reed hit the trunk with a crack, slumped down, dazed. Reed! Valera screamed, breaking cover. The creature turned on her, moving in slow, deliberate steps. Valera raised her weapon. Back off. It didn't. She fired. A blast of violet plasma struck the creature's shoulder, burning through its armor. But instead of pain, it seemed to feed on it. The wound sealed instantly. The thing hissed. You can't fight this, it said in a voice that wasn't a voice. More, like wet static crawling into their ears. Your bond is inefficient, primitive. I am perfected connection. I am unity without weakness. Yeah? Reed groaned, rising to his feet. Then why do you smell like a broken blender? The creature rushed Valera. She didn't move. Instead, she reached for Reed with all four hands and pulled. Their bond ignited. The light around them flared, blinding white with streaks of deep violet. Reed gasped as his muscles surged, his bones realigning, skin glowing hot. Valera screamed, not in pain, but in power. Their hearts synced, their minds locked. In that instant, they weren't just two people. They were one force. The creature struck, but the energy field around them rejected it. Sparks flew, metal screamed. The bond pushed the thing back like a tide crashing against stone. Reed stepped forward, glowing, radiant, pulsing with raw biological energy. His wounds had vanished. His veins glowed gold. He looked at his hands. I'm not just healing now, he said softly. I'm evolving again. Valera stood beside him, her skin shimmering like liquid light, her eyes now glowing white with a hint of gold. The bond's accelerating. You're activating dormant code, ancient human code. The creature screeched. Reed raised his hand, and the energy answered. It slammed into the creature like a cannon of pure intent, lifting it off the ground and smashing it into a boulder. The jungle trembled with the impact. Birds scattered into the sky. A tree cracked in half. Smoke rose. The creature twitched, sparking. And then, silence. Valera stumbled into Reed's arms, both of them shaking, both of them glowing. He held her close. You okay? I don't know what that was, she whispered, but it was just the beginning. He nodded. Then let's evolve together. Their lips met, fierce and full of fire, and somewhere, deep in the soil of that alien moon, the world shifted, because now the universe had a new kind of threat. A human, in love, bonded, and getting stronger by the minute. They didn't speak for a long time. Not because they couldn't, but because the silence between them was alive. The jungle had gone still again, but now it was watching. The air shimmered, faintly around Reed and Valera, the leftover glow of their bond still licking along their skin like firelight that refused to go out. Where her hands met his chest, faint markings had appeared, new patterns, golden and organic. Not Threlin, not human, but something in between. No, something more. Valera finally looked up at him, breath still shaky. That thing, that hybrid, it wasn't just trying to kill us. Reed nodded slowly, eyes dark but focused. It wanted in, wanted what we have. She touched the side of his face, her fingers trailing over the stubble growing along his jaw, but it couldn't take it. Because our bond wasn't programmed, it was real. Reed grinned, a little blood still crusted at the edge of his mouth. Guess love really does conquer all, even bioengineered nightmares. She didn't smile. Not yet. Her gaze dropped to the symbols glowing along his collarbone. Your body isn't just adapting anymore, she whispered. It's rewriting itself. I think you're activating something ancient. Reed raised an eyebrow. Ancient? I'm 29? I'm serious, she said, scanning him with a trembling hand. There are sequences in your DNA lighting up that have never activated in any known human genome. They're older than recorded human evolution, hidden, dormant, like they were waiting for a trigger. And I'm the trigger? She nodded. You, us, this bond. He looked down at himself, his skin still faintly glowing, his senses sharper than they'd ever been. He could hear her heartbeat, taste her adrenaline. He wasn't just recovering anymore. He was ascending. Valera leaned in, her voice soft in his ear. I think you were designed for this. Reed's lips brushed her cheek. You mean I'm an evolutionary fluke? I think, she said, pressing her forehead to his. You're the next step. They moved again, not toward danger but toward each other. His arms wrapped around her lower back, pulling her close until their foreheads touched and their breath mixed. Her forearms slowly enfolded him in a quiet embrace, and for the first time since the crash, everything felt still, not calm, not safe. Just right. She looked into his eyes, her voice a whisper. I want to finish the bond. His breath hitched. You sure? Because I think we're past holding hands and blushing. Valera let out a soft, nervous laugh. With you, it's never just touching. It's fusion. The more we connect, the deeper we evolve. But I'm not scared anymore. Reed didn't hesitate. Then finish it. The jungle pulsed with violet, light as they kissed again. Slow, deliberate, exploratory. But this time their bodies weren't just reacting. They were synchronizing. Every cell in his body burned with need, not just desire, but something biological, something spiritual. His fingertips left glowing trails down her back as her suit responded to his touch, peeling away in fluid motions like it wanted him to see her. And she was beautiful. Not just her body, though her tall silver figure was sculpted like starlight, but the way she trusted him. Open, vulnerable, willing. Her markings flared across her body like flowing ink, wrapping around his skin as she climbed onto his lap in the soft moss beneath the canopy. No more fear, no more hesitation. Their bodies met. Finally. In a joining that was more than sex, more than pleasure. It was an unlocking. With every movement, every gasp, the bond deepened, tightened, expanded like concentric rings in water. Somewhere deep in the earth, something responded. The jungle trees glowed brighter. The wind changed, and beneath them the ancient structure stirred because this was what it had been waiting for. Not just evolution, but connection. Not just compatibility, but love. As they climaxed together, a wave of energy blasted outward in a pulse of gold and violet. The jungle floor rippled. Birds cried out overhead. Light poured from the cracks in the earth beneath them. Reed's eyes rolled back for a second as his body absorbed it, welcomed it, became more. When they collapsed against each other, their skin glowing, their hearts beating in perfect unison, the bond was sealed, permanent, unbreakable, and something ancient had awoken beneath Valera lay in his arms, one hand on his chest, the other cradling his jaw. "You're not fully human anymore," she whispered. He smiled. "Then whatever I am now, it belongs to you." She kissed him once, slow and deep, and in the earth below, something opened. The earth trembled again, this time not from combat, but from awakening. Beneath Reed and Valera, glowing lines split through the jungle floor like veins of molten gold. The moss peeled back in silent reverence. Trees bowed slightly, their leaves pulsing with rhythmic biolight as if the entire moon were breathing. Reed sat up slowly, his body still humming from their bond. No, their fusion. Every inch of his skin bore the soft, geometric patterns that now glowed steadily beneath the surface. He wasn't just changed, he was chosen. Valera sat beside him, her long fingers pressed against the ground, eyes closed, face serene, but awestruck. "It's calling to us," she whispered. Reed blinked. "What is?" She opened her eyes. "The source. The precursor vault. I think we woke it up." A faint vibration pulsed through the earth again, but this time it had a direction, down. A few meters away, a circle of earth simply sank, revealing a spiraling path lit by ancient alien symbols that matched the markings on their skin. Reed rose to his feet, reaching for Valera's hand. She took it with all four of hers, her grip sure, her gaze steady. "We started this together," she said. "We finish it together." They descended into the light. The spiral led to a chamber carved from obsidian and crystal, humming with a living current. At its center stood a vast obelisk, twice the height of a man, covered in the same glowing script that now pulsed through Reed's veins. It was humming, not audibly, but through sensation. It recognized him. The moment he stepped forward, the symbols flared. Valera gasped softly as a voice, not spoken, not heard, but felt, filled the chamber. Catalyst detected. Bond complete. Sequence unlocked. The obelisk cracked open, like a seed pod, revealing a swirling matrix of golden liquid light suspended in air. Images flickered inside. Visions of ancient humans walking alongside aliens, not as conquerors, but as partners. Builders, sharers of knowledge, catalysts of evolution. Reed reached out, and the light surged forward. In a flash, knowledge exploded. Through him, not words, not instructions, instincts. He staggered, grabbing the edge of the platform. It's showing me everything. What humans were meant to be. What we were built for." Valera moved to his side, supporting him. "Built?" He looked into her eyes, breath ragged but filled with wonder. "Valera, humans weren't just another species seeded into the galaxy. We were designed to be amplifiers. Our biology was always meant to adapt, to bond, to connect, physically and emotionally with others." She blinked. "Your love is your evolution?" He nodded slowly. "It's our weapon, our gift, our purpose. When we bond, we don't just survive. We elevate. Ourselves, others, the universe." The light wrapped around them both, swirling, faster. The markings on their skin responded, pulsing together in perfect synchrony. And then the vault spoke again. "One seed has bloomed. The cycle may begin again." The obelisk reformed, sealing the light inside, but the energy stayed with them, burning softly under their skin like a permanent ember. As they ascended back to the jungle surface, the world felt different. The sky had cleared. The jungle no longer felt like a wild moon, but a living garden, waiting. At the clearing where they had made their bond, a ship waited, not one they knew. It shimmered with crystalline panels and soft golden light, a gift left by the vault. Reed stared at it, then at Valera. "Guess we've got a ride." She stepped closer, brushing her fingers across his chest. "Where does it take us?" He looked to the stars above. "Wherever people need healing, evolution, hope." Valera tilted her head, smiling softly. A human diplomat with the body of a god and a bonded alien scientist with 4 hands and no patience for flirting. Sounds like the galaxy's in for a wild ride. Reed kissed her. Not hurried, not hungry, just full of everything they'd become. Let's go show the universe what love really looks like. They boarded the vessel together. As it rose into the stars, their hands stayed entwined. Behind them, Valtheris IV glowed with new life, and ahead, the stars waited. Worlds waiting to evolve. Not through war or technology, but through something far more powerful, a human's heart and an alien's trust. Together, they would change everything, and it all started with a crash and a kiss and a bond that couldn't be broken.